Hi, in this video, we'll continue our introduction into economics, and currently we are looking at markets. So what makes up a market in economics? Well, a market is a group of buyers and sellers which will trade potentially. So a market economy would then allow us to allocate resources by having the buyers and sellers interact with one another. That's how they decide on the prices. And how do we determine this price? Is we use the supply and demand model, and this will also show how these prices allows us to allocate our scarce resources. So competition in a market, well, there are a few types of competition. Firstly, you have the imperfect competition, meaning that the buyers and sellers can influence the market to a certain point. But now think of the market for wheat. Can an individual seller really impact the market price? Because if a farmer sells any more, then he won't sell anything. And if you sell less than this price given by the market, why would he do that when other people also will pay him for 580? So this is known as a perfectly competitive market where the buyers and sellers take the market price as given. So in this case, we call them price takers. We will learn more about how to differentiate between a competitive market and and what are the different types of imperfectly competitive markets. So in that case now, we use the supply and demand model, which means that we need to understand what demand is first. So demand is basically how much you are willing to pay for the good at a certain price. So the individual quantity demanded is the total amount that individual will choose to buy at a particular price. And the market quantity demanded is the total amount that all the buyers will decide at a particular price. So important things to note is that it refers to the buyer's choice, not to the amount that the buyers actually buy. So it's at this price point, what is the total amount you can choose to buy? So next thing is that the influence of price is stressed in the definition of the quantity demanded. So the quantity that you demand depends on the price. By the law of demand, it only makes sense if that the price increases, you must demand less quantity. So that means that as the price rises and with everything else staying the same, meaning nothing else changes, the quantity of a good demanded will fall. And this everything else remains the same means that any other factor like your non-price determinants that affects demand does not change, also known as ceteris paribus. However, in the real world, many things occur simultaneously, and so you just need to make an assumption or tweak your model. So let's see what is a demand schedule and a demand curve now. A demand schedule is just a list of the different quantity demanded at different prices with all other variables staying the same. So it's just a table form of having price and a quantity demanded beside it. But you can actually make it better by using a demand curve for the market, which shows the relationship between the price of good and the quantity demanded, ceteris paribus. As said earlier, when we talk about quantity demanded, so this is the demand curve, or we can call this representing the demand. But the individual point on the curve, because it has the price, to talk about a point, you need to talk about the price. So when we talk about the prices, we are talking about the quantity demanded. And so any change in the quantity demanded, like from A to B, means an increase in quantity demanded. Then there must be a fall in the price. So to move along the demand curve, you need to have a change in your prices. Whereas for changes in demand, that means how else can this curve be moved? Well, this curve, you either move along it or you move the entire curve itself. And in this case, we say that it is the change in the demand, or you can say the change in the demand curve. And what affects it is not the price anymore, but the other factors that we assume to be constant. So these are known as the non-price determinants that will shift the entire demand curve. Certain examples of non-price determinants will be the population. If you have more people, then your overall demand will just increase. Income and wealth. So for a good, we either say it's a normal good or a inferior good. Another word for normal is luxurious. So if you just think of luxurious and inferior, luxurious is a good that people demand more when their income increase, and inferior is when a good they demand less when their income increase. Taste can also be a factor in your demand curve, because maybe you like this particular good more, then the demand for it at every price will increase. Expectation, so you expect the future to have a recession, so you kind of want to save money now or something, then you just demand less now. And one of the most common one will be your price of related goods. So the good can also be categorized into substitutes and complement. Substitute means that if this is your good that you want, for example, a red apple from this species and another type of red apple, then when this red apple increase in price, it will cause this demand to increase as well, because here the demand will fall and people will shift over to here, so the demand here increase. So the price of a substitute rises, then the demand of your good will also increase. And this is illustrated, an increase in demand is illustrated by shifting your demand curve right. Because now, at a given price, you want to increase your quantity demand. And for complement, it means that if, let's say, an apple requires this storage device, if the demand for this apple, a price increase for this apple, then this demand falls, then you don't need that much storage, so the storage falls as well. And that's all for understanding the demand. In the next video, we'll talk about the supply. See you in the next one. Bye.